Now this week we have already proceeded to week 6. Okay, okay. So last week we learned how to use the dplyr package to manipulate the data frame, data objects, right? So we also use this dplyr package. It's kind of quite handy, right? When you try to organize large scale business data. For example, when we are trying to do we have example to uh, we have example data set called Tafan data set, right? And the Tafan data set is actually originally it is a transaction item, right? Okay, so they are like if I remember, you have in the beginning we have about uh, kind of like 82,000. No, it's like 800,000, right? Kind of like 800,000 data items, right? And we use the goodbye summarized to aggregate the data item uh, into transaction. And then we use summary goodbye again to aggregate the transaction into customer, right? In this process, um, we actually um, kind of like summarize, kind of like aggregate the uh, the raw data of like 800 raw data records into like about 120 transactions, and we also find that all of this 120 transactions come from about 32,000 customers, right? And then by um, looking into this data frame, the customer data frame, the uh, transaction data frame, and also the item data frame, we actually know that the distribution of our customer, right, in the aspects of their age, in the aspects of their area code, right? So we have a kind of have um, a whole picture of our performance situation, right? By using the dplyr to manipulate the data frame, by aggregate the raw data into the unit of analysis. What I mean by unit of analysis is we want to analyze our customers, right? Right. We want to analyze our transactions. We want to analyze our product. Yeah, this is the unit of analysis that we that is of our interest, right? So, but the raw data is in uh, uh, product items, right? Transaction items, right? So we do the aggregation, and in this process, we know that every customer, we know how many times this customer buy from us. We know in average um, when he come to the store, in average how much money he buy, right? We even know that in the weekdays, which day we have more customer, uh, in which day we have less customer, right? We know that, and uh, in the ongoing weeks, uh, I will try to teach you how to uh, use this data frame to explore the data and figure out the um, the operating performance in this Tafan grocery store. Okay? And this kind of task, I mean, we try to explore the data and try to extract useful information, extract the business important information out of the data. This is what we call data exploration. Okay? And when we are doing data exploration, it's not only because the data frame by itself, it's a very large table, right? In order to extract the useful and meaningful information, we need to do some graphs, right? We will use graph to compare the groups, right? To help us understand our performance situation, right? So in this week and in next week, I will teach you how to use the data visualization techniques, okay? To visualize the data inside the data frame so that we will have a better idea about how the grocery store is operating, right? For example, we would know that which group of customers generating the largest revenue, right? And we know that see that the customer that generate the largest revenue is not necessarily the customer that is generating the largest profit, right? Because the margin is different, right? Some customers tend to buy the low margin product, and some customers tend to buy the large margin product, right? So in business, what is important? What is most important to the stores, right? If you have a grocery store, if you are a retailer, what are the most important indicator? What are the most important performance indicator you want to you are interested of, right? Is anyone? If you run a store, what is the most important performance indicator you care? Sorry? Sales? Sales? What do you mean by sales? S-A? S-E? L-E, sell, right? Sell. No, sell is an action, right? But by selling product, what is the benefit of selling? Profit, right? Yeah, profit is the most important thing that we run business, right? And you sell the product, you get the revenue, but you also have a cost, right? So you need to deduct the cost out of the revenue, and you get your profit, isn't it? Right. So the thing are, what we are interested of is actually the revenue and the profit, and also the what we call margin, right? The margin rate. Say, for example, I sell $100, then how much profit can I earn by selling $100, right? That's called margin, right? So the thing that we care most, after all, is always point to revenue, margin, and also profit, right? And we want to analyze in the product label, right? Which type of product is generating more profit, more revenue, right? And from the customer perspective, we want to figure out which type of customer is the most important customer, right? Isn't it? Right? And that come to the if we are taking at the data frame, right? So the things that the thing that of our interest, the variable that of our interest are what? They are the revenue, the margin, and also the profit, that type of things, isn't it? Okay? But the role is actually the unit of analysis, right? This is kind of, maybe it's a product category, maybe it is a customer, maybe it's a customer group, right? Isn't it? Right? That is how we relate the data into the business indicator that of our interest. Okay? So the first thing, last week we in our homework, we already do the Tafang one, right? The 1 day prepare. In that notebook, what we are doing is, first of all, we are aggregating the data so that each breaker map to one of the unit of analysis, right? Map to one of the customer, right? Of our that we are want to analyze, right? Okay, and in the other way, we actually put on, for example, for every customer, we will know that how many times he buy from us, right? We would know that what is his revenue contribution to our company, right? We know that what is her margin rate, right? We know that what is his profit contribution, right? So data analysis is always doing this, right? You aggregate the data into a form that every record represent one of the unit of analysis that we want to analyze, right? And every column, every variable map to one of the indicator, one of the variable of our interest. And in order to do that, you need to do data manipulation. And we already learned how to use dplyr package to do that, right? Last week. But data frame by itself is a very big table, right? It's very difficult to, like, by looking at the table and get an idea about what is going on in the store, right? So we need to do some kind of data visualization, right? See? So starting from this week, I will teach you how to explore the data frame by using some graphical technique, okay? So it's called data visualization, and we also call that data exploration, right? Because we want to explore, we want to extract the business impactful, business, the business important aspect, information out of this data, okay? And in order to do that, we also have a very useful package. We call it ggplot2, okay? So using this ggplot2, you basically do this way, right? This is what we are trying to cover this in this week's lecture, okay? I already told you what is data visualization and what is data exploration, right? The purpose to do that is trying to extract, visualize data. So we know the importance information better, right? And then in order to do that, I will introduce a package called GG2 package. Okay, it will kind of map the variable to attributes. This kind of abstract. We will do that by example. Then it would be kind of pretty intuitive to 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 do the data visualization, right? And I will teach you three kind of plot, basic plot. First of all, is a scatter plot, and then we will teach you how to do bar plot, and then line plot. This is three basic plot that most basic plot that we use in the to do the data exploration and data visualization. Okay, actually, the R, the basic R also have some built-in plotting functions, help you to do some like distribution, like scatter plot, right, box plot, that type of things. But this kind of plot basically only tell you the distribution of the data, right? And in we will see that when we do the data visualization, we will see that we actually can find more information out of the graph. To do that, usually we will need to use this ggplot2 to do the data frame visualization type of things. Okay, this is kind of abstract. Let's go to the data and do it by example, and then we will get back to the slides to tell you the principle that how to use ggplot to make this beautiful and business impactful, business meaningful graph. Okay, that's what we want to do today. Any question so far? So far so good. Okay. Um, uh, let's go to the this week's unit page, right? In the unit page, today we have again we have two files to download, right? Okay, so you download the PowerPoint file, and most importantly, you need to download the zip file. And as usual, we will put it into the C drive IB533. Put it into codes, right? And then we go to this folder, and we unzip the file, and there's a 06 folder. We want to copy it in under the code folder. And after you do that, you should have 06 ggplot folder here, right? Okay, that's it. And now you can delete the zip file and open your RStudio. You're following me? Okay. Now we want to go to C and IB533 codes and also 06, right? So you go to CIV533 code on 06, then you will see the information, the data notebook that we want to use today. Are you here? Okay. So first thing, we want to set it as working directory as usual, right? Okay. So after doing that, let's open the first notebook file. Again, you can open the IMD, the source code file here, and you can also open the associated HTML file in your browser. Okay, so we want to learn some. Sorry, I do it in the wrong sequence. First of all, we should we should do the point geom point first. Okay, not geom bar. It's let's do geom point first. Okay, okay. So and then open this geom point first. Now, the first plot I would like to use is actually the scatter plot. It looks like this, right? Like every record is represented by a point. Okay, it's also called point plot or called scatter plot, right? It means that every which means that if you have a data frame, right, and every record is represented by a point, in the graph, okay? Every record is represented by a point, okay? And for each point, there is an x coordinate, there is a y coordinate, and there's a color, right? Okay, so the way that ggplot works, it looks like this. You call the ggplot function, okay, and you give it the data frame. And then, first of all, you want to do the mapping, right? You want to map the x coordinate, the y coordinate, and the color of each of the data records into a point in this scatter plot. Okay? So first of all, you call the ggplot function. You give it the data frame. Okay? And before you decide what you want to plot, you actually map the variable, map the column into the attribute of this graphical element. In this case, it's a point, right? In this case, we after the ggplot function code, you do a plus, and then this is just specify the data, the mapping, and the actual thing that you want to plot on the graph is actually specified by calling the plotting function on ggplot, and it's always called geom point. If you want to map every record into a point, you will use geom point function code. Okay, so by calling this geom point function code, you actually map every row, every data record into a point, okay? But every point has an x coordinate, y coordinate, has a color, right? the mapping of this variable to this graphical element attribute is done by calling the AES function inside the ggplot function code. Okay, that is basically the syntax of the ggplot function codes. Okay, that is the basic things that we use ggplot to do the plotting. This is kind of abstract. And actually I have some explanation down here, but I think the best way to do it is just do it by example, and you would kind of like, you kind of have a feeling that the mapping is very intuitive, right? It's very intuitive. Okay, so let's do that in a real example before going to this principle. Okay, let's learn by example instead of learn by rule, right? It would be easier. So here we want to use let's go to RStudio, and again we want to set it as a working directory and run the first block. If you already have this package, it's kind of like running very fast. Otherwise, you will have some installation. Are you still, anyone is still doing the installation? No? So you already have this function, right? Okay, that's good. And then here we have, we need to load the library, load the package. And actually I do some kind of like format setting type of things, okay? To specify the basic font size, specify this is basically all setting the font size, okay? And just like do it. Okay, so we want to start with a simple example, right? In our language, there is a built-in data set called iris. It's actually a type. Iris is actually a kind of flower, right? A kind of flower. So in this data set, actually I can say that I can do data. In order to load the built-in data set, we can go data iris. Now you can see that there are 150 data records, and there are 5 variables, right? If we look at this data frame, it looks like this. We have a total of 150 equal entries, or we can call record. And every record is a flower, right? So we have 150 flower here. And the flower belongs to like different species. Actually, we have 50 flower is of species Setosa. It is actually easy to do that by doing a table here, right? IRIS, and we want to see the species, right? Oh, sorry, species. So you can see that we have 50 Setosa flower. We have 50 versicolor and 50 virginica flower, right? We have 50 flower of this type, 50 flower of this type, and 50 flower of this type. Question? No problem, right? So this is the data that we want to use. And with this data, what we want to do is we want to plot this 150 flower. We want to make a graph like this, right? In this two line of code, I want to produce a scatter plot where every flower is represented by a point, right? Because we are doing the geom point function code, right? So every record is mapping to a point, okay? But every data point has a lot of this data point has a lot of attribute, right? For example, it has x coordinate, it has the y coordinate, it has the color, right? So in order to map the x coordinate, y coordinate, and species into the x coordinate, y coordinate, and also the color, I call a AES function inside this ggplot function code. Okay, so to use ggplot, you always begin with a ggplot function code, and you give it a data frame. Okay, and you specify what type of graphical element you want to use to represent every record, right? For every record in this point, in this case, we want to represent it by a point, right? So you use geom point. And then you can specify some fixed data attribute. For example, the size of the point, the shape of the point, the point, okay? And then you can specify a theme, okay? The idea of theme is like, if I do not use the this theme, then we actually will see something like this. Well, the theme actually is kind of the style of the graph, right? Usually you don't need to adjust the theme. For example, if I do not satisfy with the by default the theme look like this, okay, it's okay. But if you want to change the theme, you can add a theme function code here. Okay, so by doing that, you'll see that the style of the plot is different, right? So ggplot is kind of like quite straightforward, right? Call the ggplot, give it the data frame, and then specify how you want to represent the data record in this graph. And then you do the mapping, right? That this is the most important thing, right? Here we want to map the sample width in as the x coordinate and sample length as the y coordinate, and we want to use species as the color. We have 3 different species, right? So you can see that in this graph, we actually can see that this species, Setosa species, it has the largest sample width, right? And it has the lower. It tends to has a large sample width, but it tends to has a smaller sample length, isn't it? Right? So in this graph, can you observe which species tend to have the largest sample length? Which one? Because every color represents a species, right? And the y coordinate actually represent the sample length, right? So can you see which species tend to have the larger sample length? Can you see that? Anyone? Yeah.
The blue one.
The blue one, yeah, because the blue one has the higher y coordinate, right? And the y coordinate is actually mapping to sample length, isn't it? See that? Okay? So this is basically how we use ggplot to extract data, right? And sorry, to visualize data, right? And this is how visualization data can help us to observe the phenomena, to observe the phenomena inside the data, to see the inside of the data, right? Okay. If you simply look into this data frame, you actually cannot see the trend. You actually cannot see the pattern, right? But after you visualize it, okay, by mapping this variable into a graphical element attribute, now you can see the trend, you can see the pattern, you can see the phenomena, important phenomena that you want to, you would like to learn. Okay, let's have more exercise. Okay, the next thing I want to bring in this comic data set again, right? Now let me do this. So in this D data frame, do you still remember the comic data set? Now every record is a comic character, right? For example, first one is the Batman, the second one is Superman, right? Okay, and you have now if you want to do this by a scatter plot, okay, what can we do? We can do it by this, right? We call ggplot, and we want to like kind of map every character as a point, right? And we use the ear as the x coordinate. We use appearance as the y coordinate, right? So in this graph, we will have a total of 7,250 points, and every point represents a character in that data set, right? So, but now you have a graph like this. It looks actually pretty, kind of pretty. We can say so. But can you see the information out of this graph? It's very difficult, right? So we need to do some refinement, right? We need to do some refinement. When you have a lot of data point, when you have a lot of record inside a data frame, then we'll need to choose the mapping and maybe do some filtering to extract the most important, most significant information out of the data, right? That's the thing that we need to learn, right? Making a graph is not that that not difficult. But the thing is that here I would like you to do some exercise, right? First of all, I want you to put color and sex into AES, okay? First of all, I only map the x coordinate, y coordinate, right? If I also want to map the color and sex, what should I do? Actually, it's pretty easy, right? What should I do? If I want to map the color as sex and the shape as a line, right? What can I do? As I told you that the mapping is actually specified inside this AES function code, right? Okay? So if you want to map color to sex and align to shape, all you need to do is like do this. Right? You put the you map the color to sex, and also you map the shape of the point into aligned variable. Then after doing that, you will see the difference, right? Let me pull this here. So you kind of see a map like this, right? So it's different from, sorry, it's different from the original plot, right? The original plot is look like this, and now we actually use color to represent sex, and use shape to represent a line, so the chart becomes this. And still, it's very difficult to see the chart, right? Because as you can see that most of the point is kind of like only has a small number of appearance, right? In this case, we can actually add in ggplot, we can also specify we call this is called scale y log 10. It means that let me do this. As you can see that now it's 1, 10, 100, 1000, isn't it? Right? I told you already, right? This log transformation, it would tend to like reduce the impact of this outlier point, right? So you make the chart. You carry more information in this chart, but still very messy, right? And what can we use this chart is still a question, right? Okay. Oh, and in ggplot, another feature that I want to demonstrate here is actually you can add a function called facet that sees effect. Okay. You can actually in one function code and do two panel. One panel is for the DC publisher, and the other panel is for Marvel publisher. You see the point? Okay. So I just want to demonstrate some of the major useful function code in this data, in this ggplot package. So by using this ggplot package, you actually can make a chart very easily, right? But making a chart is one thing. How to extract information, how to read the information out of the chart is the other thing. It's already 10 o'clock, so let's take a break. And in the next hour, I will teach you some technique so that you can extract the useful information, okay, out of the chart. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break and let's get back at 10 after 10, okay?